years of being the vice president, 215 to 217, which was great. It was an honor to me. I don't, and one of the things I like about the Columbus Storytellers, and I would like if you're in the Atlanta area, please pick up on some of the things we do, because we have things called the Mama Tales, and that's where we tell stories about your mom, things that motivate you, and it doesn't have to be your mom. It has to be some lady that did something in your life that made you a better person. And we also have, this year we're introducing the Papa Tales, but one of the most exciting things for young people and parents out there, if you're looking for something for your children to get involved in, it's the Tattle Tales, and that's the storytelling group of youth where they're learning to tell stories. And the story can be based on anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be based on our history. It doesn't have to be based on our history. And Tales are just young people learning how to tell stories. And the storytelling has so much richness in our history. And I remember I met Gwendolyn Brooks. That's how I met Gwendolyn Brooks, becoming a storyteller. And I met her in Miami, Florida, when I was doing storytelling down there. I was introduced to storytelling by a lady named Linda Spitzer. And we were doing, and I say we, the association, I was the Miami Storytelling Association back in those days, and we were doing the Miami International Book Fair every year, what I think called Children's Alley, where we told stories to youth and anybody who would attend. Most people who would attend, we would tell stories. And all those stories were just based on storytelling, not so much historical as what happened when I moved to Georgia and in Atlanta, and it was just more historical, which gave it so much richness for me, because there are times when I'm out doing stories, I actually characterize myself in being the character of whoever I'm talking about. But I'd like for you to just put this in your knowledge cap today. Daniel Hill, I think it was Daniel Hill Williams, who did open heart surgery back in 1883, and the guy who lived, James Cornish, that's how his name is remembered in history, because he lived 31 years after the heart surgery, and this was the first open heart surgery ever performed. There had been other open heart surgeries, but nobody has any record of anybody living that long, and this man lived 31 years after open heart surgery. And the thing about what makes this story so great, I love this story because what makes it so rich is he didn't have all this medical equipment they have now. You know they didn't have that in 1883. Y'all know that. So when you operate on this guy, he was probably laying on a table like your mama's dining room table, or some bed, probably a table like a dining room, and with probably just regular light bulbs. But anyway, moving forward, we have so much to be proud of. And as you know, I was talking to my daughter the other day, and she was telling me, "Well, Daddy, I don't think there's no such thing as Black history. It's just history. It's just world history." And I said, "Yeah, I give you that, but we had to put ourselves in the history book because we didn't decide to leave ourselves out." Check it out. So by the time, what makes it so good about our history is that we do have something to talk about. You know, I just thought about, and let me say this too while we're here today. Slavery was 400 years, but remember this: every Black family, or African American family, everybody in the diaspora, in the African diaspora, there were people who were never families that were never in slavery. They have no record that anybody in this family ever was lived in slavery. And that goes back to James Weldon Johnson. Now everybody say, "Well, who is James Weldon Johnson?" And I'll say, "Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring." And everybody knows that song if you live in the African diaspora. you know that song. You've heard it somewhere in some celebration, in some religious celebration, in some social event. At one time, we used to call it the Negro National Anthem. But James Weldon Johnson's family left the United States and moved to the Bahamas before the Civil War because they had never been in slavery, and they felt that the South was going to win the war. So the South lost the war, which we know that, and his family moved back to the United States. But when his family moved back to the United States, they moved to Jacksonville, Florida. It is a known fact in their historical data that his family was sort of like middle class, more or less. He was educated in Jacksonville in Stanton High School, and at this time, the schools were only allowed to educate people in the diaspora. We could only go as far as 8th grade. But anyway, his family sent him to Atlanta, of all. He went to Atlanta University, graduated with honors, went back to Jacksonville, was the first African American attorney. He passed the Florida bar in 1897. He and his brother Rosemont wrote the Negro National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, in 1900. And I'm trying to remember all the things I want to tell you about, because he was the principal of Stanton High School, and he was the educator who got education approved in the city of Jacksonville for all African American children in diaspora to obtain a 12th, go to education. High school would go to 12th grade. Prior to that, as I said, prior to that was on the 8th grade. And he has a rich history of being a part of the Harlem Renaissance era. And this was in the Renaissance era of Langston Hughes, and all Duke Ellington, Bessie Smith, Ella Fitzgerald, all these people. And one thing he said about our history, he said, one thing I can tell you for sure, that the intellect and the intelligence of African Americans over years will become phenomenal in world history. And he said, especially in our arts. And I don't think it's anything that we haven't done in America. And I don't think America would have near the greatness that it has without us being there doing the things that we've done. We have we paid our dues. For instance, there's a lady named Janet Emerson Barshini. Okay? She has patent number 6,985,922. Excuse me, 985,982. Courtesy of inventor, method apparatus, system for processing compliance actions for wide area networks. You can go opportunity software, more or less. Linkline, if you're familiar with that, Linkline is, and it's an intake and tracking claims management and documents reports. That's what it was. She is in the historical. She's in the Black Inventors Hall of Fame. It's so funny how there's so many things that we started on our own, and now that we've started things, everybody wants to be a part of it. You know what? When I was down in South Florida, just a couple of months ago, and one of the things I also do, because one thing you're going to hear on this show, you're going to hear a lot of good music, folks. I just won't be talking to you like this. You're going to hear a lot of good music from all the great artists. We're going to hear new artists. We're going to introduce artists. We're going to introduce community, socially, people who are in the community who are doing uplifting things. Our intention is to bring young entrepreneurs in, and they can tell you how to contact them and help them promote their business structures. That's one of the things we're planning to do with the show. And like I said, we're going to have a lot of artists here. We're going to have quite a few artists going to come through. They'll probably call in, and hopefully, we can tie you in if we have a call-in system where you can call in and talk. You can probably talk to the artists right here from the station. But these are some of the things we're going to be moving forward. But So I just want to put you guys, give you guys an uplift on what's going to be happening. But keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving forward. Hey, this is Paul Freeman signing out. And I look forward to speaking to you guys. And look for you. Come in, make sure you check in next Sunday, because not only are we going to be dropping all of this valuable historical value data on you, we're going to also be dropping all of this beautiful music that you all can't wait to hear. Peace, blessing, love, folks. I'm out. And praise God always.